go. Join us as we explore practical strategies, mindset shifts, and the power of Reiki and coaching with our incredible guest, Tracey Payton, clarity coach, trainer, Reiki Master and Teacher. Welcome back to the Happiness on Tap podcast, and I am very excited about my guest today. Today, I'm talking with Tracey Payton. Tracey has coached hundreds of people around the world who struggle with too much on their plate, helping them create focus, clarity to start and end their day. She previously spent 15 years in corporate America, many of them feeling overwhelmed and too busy to live. Learning and practicing Reiki, as well as beginning her coaching career, helped her to gain perspective about our busyness and fuel the desire to help others find peace, playfulness, and productivity to live their best life. Thank you for joining us for Finding Clarity, Peace, and Productivity, Insights from an Entrepreneurial Journey. Hello, Tracey. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
I'm excellent. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining me. I first met Tracey in April of 2022, my first official month with Health Coach Institute. I enrolled in March to obtain my certification as a life and health coach, and I had just attended a virtual live event and was all fired up and ready to achieve my goal of opening my coaching business and helping people. And there was so much to figure out. Even though I had been an accountant for 20 years, I had started businesses in brick and mortar, but having my own business was completely different than working from somebody else. And the blessings of the certification was that it required us to have 6 empowerment coaching sessions with an empowerment coach throughout our time with the program. And Tracey was my coach of choice. We had a connection with our backgrounds in accounting and legal, and so we just had this perfect click. And so I would save my coaching calls so that I knew that there was something that I knew Tracey could help me with. And at that time, it was okay, I'm ready to start my business. Where do I start? Because I had already been spinning my wheels, trying to get tax IDs, and then hitting a wall. And no, you need this one first, or you need this one next. You have to do them in order, and opening a bank account and all of that stuff. And so I used my coaching call and called Tracey and said, I need help. This is where I am. And she provided me the most perfect roadmap that I could have ever imagined that got me from zero to opening my business in no time at all. And so it always meant a lot to me to have my time with Tracey because she offered me so much valuable information throughout my program, and I appreciate her so much. So let's get started. So Tracey, can you tell me a little bit about what you do and how people can benefit coming to you for your services?
Absolutely. So I call myself a clarity coach. And what I mean by that is I am helping generally women who come to me to find the clarity in their own life. And clarity is one of those words we're all excited and interested in because who doesn't want clarity? But clarity for each of us is very different. Whether it's clarity in a relationship, in jobs, in your life, wherever that might be, I truly specialize in empowering women to kind of conquer the challenges that basically our life commitments require of us and kind of unlocked what that focus clarity looks like for them. I'm always looking to help them say goodbye to overwhelming stress because overwhelm and stress were some of my worst enemies and now some of my best friends, all done through, me having coaches and me getting the opportunity to coach these women. So I'm helping them to live, you said my three favorite words, which are peace, playfulness, and productivity. And I'm sure I'll talk a little bit more about those, but those were the things I was looking for most in my life. And I want to present to my clients because I think that that gives you this beautiful harmony in your life.
Absolutely. And we all need harmony in our lives. And I'm right there with you. Having somebody to help you when you've hit the wall and you're in overwhelm, um, is what helped me get through some of my worst anxiety, panic, um, the pandemic and how it affected me, and the fear that was coming at me from the news being on all the time, and I didn't want to leave my house. I was afraid to go into banks because the crime rate had really gotten bad here. Um, but overwhelm was something I didn't even know what that meant until I hit that wall.
Hmm.
So
And
the
it shows
world,
up differently for everyone. So, I mean, like, and my goal is not to alleviate or eliminate, I guess is probably a better word, overwhelm, because that would be magic. And I don't quite have those level of magic powers at this point in time, maybe in the future, but it's teaching us how to handle our own overwhelm and what that looks like. Because I can tell, I mean, I get overwhelmed on a daily basis still to this day, even though it's what I teach and talk about, but I can feel it before it comes. Like I can curb it. I know how it's going to show up for me. And that's such a powerful situation within yourself to be able to know that does help me. Do I want to live in this overwhelm? Because sometimes we do. Let's be very honest. Sometimes we want to feel sad. We want to feel the feels, and that's okay. But I also know when it's time to no longer feel that feel and how to get myself through and out of it. And that's one of those things that coaching gets to help people with is how to move through their own feelings when they're good and ready. I'm not looking to change anybody into something that they're not. I just want to make them the best version of themselves because that's really fun to wake up to your best version every day.
absolutely. And you touched on all those important things that were all things that I needed to coach. And still to this day, like you said, being able to like reach out and utilize the tools that are now in my toolbox that I didn't have before. So that
Mhm.
when I feel that sense of overwhelm or I feel that anxiety creeping up, I now have the tools to help me work through those while still being able to have the feels, but not
Mhm.
have them affect me in the same way.
Yeah, very well said. Yes.
Thank you. Can you share with us a little bit about your personal journey from corporate America to becoming a clarity coach?
Absolutely. So I worked for a corporate insurance company for 15 years. I actually really loved what I did. Specifically for that first 10 years, I loved going into the office every day. I loved every part of it. I really felt like a useful person in that corporation. Um, but that last couple of years that I was there, I felt really unsatisfied. I felt really isolated, and I didn't really understand why. I used a lot of coping techniques, which, is just kind of human nature. Some of them were food, some of them were scrolling or doom scrolling, as we call that. And some of it was actually completely a healthy coping mechanism. I mean, as I was kind of thinking about this and like thinking about my journey through that, I did a lot of volunteer work. That's not an unhealthy thing to do unless you're using it to cover up something else, which is exactly what I was using it for. Um, the problem was still there. I hadn't actually attended to the isolation and the unsatisfaction. And it wasn't just the job. It was my lifestyle, and it was so many things about me that I was unsatisfied with, and I wasn't clear on where I was headed with that. So I actually was in one of my coping mechanisms scrolling one day and actually found Health Coach Institute because I also was a student there before I began working there. And there was something about the video. Like there was just something about the way they had spoken that I felt this draw. And I'll be very honest, I didn't listen to the sounds inside of my body very much at that point in time. But there was something that was just like, you have to learn from these people. And by the way, I had no intentions of becoming a coach. I had no intentions of leaving my corporate job. to do that. I got into the program and I loved it and I was having such a good time. And I realized that coaching was a technique that we could use to kind of help others. So I didn't actually go into this course specifically thinking, I can't wait to help others. I was drowning. I was looking for a lifeline for myself before I could do anything, not recognizing at the time that of course, I had to do something for myself to be able to help others. But when I started to use some of those techniques and watching my coaching evolving over time, that's where clarity came from for me, is that evolution, because that's not really where I started with coaching, but it's what became of it. And I realized that um, what I was seeing was that there isn't this one size fits all situation for any of us. I mean, like, I just, you know, we read lots of books, we do lots of things that all tell us to do the same thing, whether it be in eating or relationships or anywhere in our life. And that's just not who we are. I mean, just from a very basic thing, oh, you're feeling stressed out, you should meditate. Well, that's a really great sentence, and I am not against it. I will be meditating twice a day for as long as I can possibly live because it is so powerful to me. But every day, my meditation is different. Sometimes it's guided, sometimes it's not. Sometimes my brain is full of stuff that I just can't seem to get out of it. And when we say things like this one size fits all, you have to meditate for 15 minutes a day and do X, Y, and Z, that's where I struggle personally, is that, like, because I wasn't good at the 15 minutes a day doing it the way they told me I had to do it. And that's what as a coach, that's what I knew I needed to bring into the world, is that there is no one size fits all. And we have to find the size that fits you, no matter the number, no matter what it takes to get there. That's what we really need to find. Just like as you were starting your business, there's no one size fits all starting a business. I mean, I've kind of restarted my business multiple times, and each time it's been a little different. And coaching has allowed me to allow for that change for myself, but also help other people find where that clarity strikes for them. So my corporate journey was just kind of that momentum to get me to the next thing. But certainly it wasn't that coaching was like right on the cusp and I had to become a coach. It was that I learned to coach myself and get coaching, and how phenomenal it really was, and knew that that's where my energy needed to be spent.
Wow. Every time I talk to you, it's like a new connection. Because honestly, I was in the same boat. I was drowning. I was
Mhm.
drowning. I had just walked out of my career that I'd been doing for 13 years because I hit overwhelm and hit a brick wall, quit my job, was home, was trying to find something. Like, I knew I didn't like how I felt, and I knew I wasn't going to stay there. That wasn't my nature. I didn't like it, wasn't going to do it. So I started art therapy and rope therapy and um, meditation. I had done yoga for years and had never meditated once in my life. But I thought, I need to find something that'll work for me. And it took time. It wasn't something that came naturally. Like you said, we have squirrels and they're running around and you're thinking about everything and what you should be doing. Um, and so it took time for me to really latch onto it and grasp it and make it a daily practice. And it's not always a daily practice anymore, but it was when I needed it.
Hmm. And it's still there if you need it again.
Yeah, and it's still there, and it reminds me, oh, you haven't meditated in a few days. Okay. I
And
know
again,
I
it goes back to
What?
that one size fits all kind of thing, because I will tell you, I was still in corporate America when someone said to me, you should be meditating, it will help you. And in typical Tracy fashion, I do have a very sarcastic side to myself. And I said I would rather watch paint dry. And I said this multiple times to people because I just thought, how can sitting there doing nothing be absolutely remotely beneficial? And it took, for anyone out there who's ever tried to meditate and quote unquote failed at it, I failed for over 6 months till I finally got the epiphany in my meditation. And by the way, then it was like another 9 months before I had another kind of moment in meditation that made me feel like, oh, I get why I'm doing this. So, I mean, it was a very frustrating journey for something that's supposed to be super simple. And I'll be honest, the frustration came from me. I made it harder than it needed to be because it was supposed to look like this. And I will tell you, to this day, my meditation practice does not look like what it is, quote unquote, societally supposed to look like. And neither does my journaling practice, neither do most of the things I do, which is why I want to, for lack of a better term, give permission to people to find the thing that works for them. And if meditation's not your thing, it's cool. Like, please don't feel like you have to dive into it, or journaling, or whatever the thing that we're all supposed to be doing to be better human beings. I promise you, if meditation makes you angry, you're not going to be a better human being. Like, stop doing that. Like, go for the nature walk, pet your dog, lay under your desk and cry. Whatever the thing is that helps you move forward, that's what we want to focus on, is how to get you in that motion, not the have tos of it. So, um, it's the one size fits all that doesn't actually fit any of us in any
Mhm.
way. So,
They're all great suggestions, but not
mhm.
everybody can do them. Or yeah, and for me it's journaling. Like I can't journal. Can't do it. I have, I know what my issues are and I'm working on those issues because that's a lifetime of trauma that has affected my ability to journal. And I know it's important and I know I should be doing it, but that's one of those things that I'm just not ready to deal with right now. So, um,
I hear you. I was a very bad journaler for a really long time. Every entry was Dear Diary, like a third grade girl. Every entry, and that just wasn't beneficial. And so my journaling is, by the way, also very unique. I mean, I journal by talking to my dogs. I journal by, asking certain questions, or I do all sorts of different things, just depending on what the right feeling is for me. And giving myself permission to do that has been and is hard, um, but beneficial. So we're all here to just keep trying.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I still play with all different kinds of things to, podcasts, listening to podcasts. Um, Meditation is still probably my favorite, but it has its moments. And
Mhm.
there are still days where I can't find silence. But for the most part, I developed enough of a practice that it worked for me, that it benefited me when I started seeing a hypnotherapist.
Ooh,
Like,
interesting.
oh, I have no problems dropping into that state from my meditation practice. If I didn't have that, I don't think I would have taken to it so easily.
Hmm.
Um, but it has been something that has really benefited me in dealing with trauma triggers, um, forgiveness, learning to let go, all those things that I needed help. And I learned not to be afraid to ask for help. And that's been a tough one. You and I have had this conversation. Um, that's a tough one. But
Asking is hard.
now I know that when I start to feel those things, to listen to myself and to listen to my body and say, okay, this is an area I know I need help with, and pick up my phone and reach out to the person I know that can help me get through it.
Mm.
Um, and that has been the most empowering thing for myself, is to just not only be
Beautiful.
able to listen to my body, but to act on it.
Beautiful.
So, what are some common challenges that as an entrepreneur you faced when it comes to managing your workload and finding balance?
Mm. Um, so I will tell you honestly, I struggle with the word balance. I feel like the word balance teaches us that it's a 50-50 split, or it's like a seesaw, or it's a give and take kind of situation equally. And any of us who are living, we're not. We're just not giving and taking equally on any given day. So one of the things that I work really hard with personally and with my clients is actually the word harmony. And I know I mentioned that earlier, is that for me and my clients, I want them to have harmony in work and life and relationships. And yes, it's a give and a take. But again, balance is like that 50-50 split. And I'll use an example, like um, with my relationship with my husband. Like there are days we're both willing to give 100% because we're both feeling amazing. And then there's days where, he wakes up in a mood that's just not 100%. And he can share with me, like, I'm only at 20% today. So it's my job to pick up that other 80% to make our relationship work. Again, I don't always do a great job of it, but knowing that and being able to communicate that is much more harmonious in our household than us each being required to give 50% or 100% for that matter. So like this idea of harmony, and I think that it works everywhere. I mean, that's a relationship example, but harmony even in what does my workday look like with my coaching career. There are some days that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to create all these things. This is amazing. And other days that I'm just sitting at the keyboard like there's not a single idea coming. Like where are all those ideas? And that harmony of having to quote unquote balance it for myself is really important to remember for myself, because that's a place, when you have no ideas and that it's your content creation day or whatever the day might be that you need and it's just not coming. Those are really good situations where you do get into overwhelm or you do get into a space where you are beating yourself up pretty good. And that's where I look for a difference in harmony, because that's so important. And I take that with me everywhere. Now, some of that is dealing with other people, and I respect that not everyone else is going to want to be in your level of harmony. But I have created those places. My home is a place where I can have that harmonious conversation. I do that with myself in my own business, because it is really important. We talk about work-life balance, and sometimes that's just work-life harmony to me. I mean, some days I might work 4 hours, some days I might work 10 hours because I'm just on a roll and I'm loving it. And that's okay if it works with what my little immediate family is able to do. But to me, it's all about finding what that harmony is. And there's a lot of communication that has to happen within yourself and with the people who are in that sphere. So creating it is a challenge, and you have to maintain it, by the way. Like that's the other part of this, is that you have to maintain that level of harmony and that level of communication with yourself and others.
And I love that. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you're a Brene Brown fan, but I am. And that's the only other time I've heard somebody talk about it in the sense of not 50-50, but maybe 20, maybe 80, maybe 40, maybe 60, because she defines her relationship with her husband that way too.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to come home and just say, I ain't got it. Like, I ain't cooking
And
tonight.
we
And
have learned so much in my relationship, because I will tell you, as I was moving through that corporate world that I was sharing with you, about just kind of feeling isolated and stuff, I was isolated in my own relationships too. I mean, like, everything, when you pulled back the curtain, everything was failing in my world. And, not because I wanted it to fail, but I didn't know what to do. And that really stemmed from my husband and I having lots of conversations about what we needed from each other, and there will be times, because truthfully, we have a relationship. I mean, we're both very empathic. And so we can feel a lot of things from each other, but there are times I need him to be my best friend. There are times I need him to be my fixer. There are times I need him to let me kind of, bitch and moan about something. But he doesn't know that, because shockingly, he cannot read my mind. But I have to share that with him. I have to say, and we talk about standing on our soapbox. I'm like, I need 3 minutes to stand on my soapbox. And even at the end of it, he'll be like, do you want my opinion? And sometimes I say yes. And other times I don't want his opinion, because I am standing on my soapbox and I want to have that thing. And it's really important that we created that from that kind of idea, that like we both can't give 100% every single day. And sometimes we can't even give 50. But knowing that we can communicate that to each other, even if we're both at 30%, knowing that saves a lot of hurt feelings and arguments, because honestly, we'll just kind of do our own thing. We know that we're not going to get that support, and that's okay. We don't have to be each other's rock 99% of the time. We're there. That's what we've created. And honestly, I've also created that relationship in a lot of my friendships and my work partnerships and things like that by just sharing what harmony you're looking for and being able to have that moment is really important, especially as an entrepreneur, by the way, because entrepreneuring can be very lonely. So knowing that you can have those conversations with friends or coaches or those kinds of things, and the people who are immediately to you, is really important for me. That's kind of what's helped build my business because I am my business. And so when I'm focusing on the benefits of, building me, that builds my business.
I love it. I love it. Communication is a number one thing in our home as well. I am constantly reminded that my husband is not a mind reader. So thank you for bringing that up. I have to, use my voice. And he's helped me develop that because I never
Mhm.
had that before. I was the be seen and not heard. I didn't have an opinion. I didn't have a voice. I just helped everyone and didn't take care of myself and just functioned and lived. Um, and when we got together, he made sure that this was not that same environment, that I knew
Mm.
that I could have a voice, that my voice was respected and needed from him for us to have that communication. And it is a level of communication that I never even knew existed.
Well, that's lovely.
Yeah, it is amazing to, just even like you said, even if we're both at 30, we know what that means. And whether it's
Hmm.
that I need my time by myself or he needs his time for by himself, or if it just means we're calling in dinner and doesn't matter if the dishes get done and it doesn't matter. So it's beautiful. And I love the word harmony. I think I'll kind of have to stick with that one. I love it.
Beautiful.
So can you provide some practical strategies or techniques that entrepreneurs can use to create that focused clarity in their daily routine?
Yes, absolutely. So I have three that I absolutely love and are kind of part of my immediate future every day. So one of them, and this can be done on a daily basis or a weekly basis, depending on how you plan. I pick three things. Um, on Sunday, I have a planning session with myself, and I pick three things that are my business entrepreneurial focus for the week. And really, nothing else matters. Those are the three big things I'm trying to accomplish for the week. And everything I'm doing in my business tends to revolve around that. And they can be simple things. I mean, I'm not looking for, like you have to launch your next $1 million offer. I'm looking at like, I um I want to work on a script for a workshop I'm doing. And by the end of the week, I want that script to be done and edited and ready to go. But those top three things are really important to keep me focused. A simple thing I think that's really important for entrepreneurs is setting business hours and sticking to them. Um, because most entrepreneurs tend to be working out of their houses, a back room, the dining room table, a desk in your bedroom, wherever it might be. And absolutely amazing that you're starting a business and doing that. But distractions of the laundry and dishes and the cats and the dogs and the kids and all of those things really pull you away from what your focus is. And so, like, I set business hours. Now, my business hours aren't a 9 to 5 kind of situation. I want them to be something that works for you. I mean, if it's best that you work in the middle of the day because kids are at school, awesome. Choose those times that work really well. If you need to get up at 5 o'clock and work for 2 hours before the house gets noisy, that's okay too. I tend to have hours that are in the morning because that's when my brain's working the best and I'm functioning at a much higher level. My general workday doesn't go beyond 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I can have conversations and check emails at that point in time, but I cannot create at that point in time. I am my best in the morning. And sticking with those business hours is really important um, and simple. That's just, again, back to that communication. I mean, it took a long time to for lack of a better word, train my household that while I, yes, am here in this physical presence, I am at work. And you wouldn't just walk into my office and say, hey, I can't find any knives. You would wait till I got home. So training the people around me, including people who would call me because, oh, well, you're just at home. So I figured I could give you a call. Setting the do not disturb on my phone, really sticking to those hours. For a while I actually would close the room that I'm in, that door, to signify like this is not a time that I need to be interrupted. So, and this third idea kind of goes with that, is limiting distractions. You know, too many tabs open in whether it be your brain or your Google browser is not going to get you focused on something. So having those top three things, and they can, like I said, they could be daily things or weekly things, knowing what those focuses are that you are doing during your business hours is critical, because you can get caught in a rabbit hole on 1,000 different things and spent 6 hours. And at the end of it, you're like, did I even do anything that was beneficial to my business? And then we get into overwhelm. Then we get into, judging ourselves for like, what a useless day. And just having that focus. And even if it's for 90 minutes a day, depending on where you are in the entrepreneurial world and space, creating less distractions for yourself, sticking to those business hours and choosing the things that are the most important for your business to get done really helped kind of propel me forward.
Those are all great tips. When I first opened my business, I opened it as a home-based business. But because of those distractions that we talked about, I quickly realized that I needed to be out of the house. I'm also very social, and I wanted a place where people could come. I didn't want to have coaching sessions only virtually or at a coffee house or something that wasn't personal in a safe space. And so it was very important for me to have an office that's a safe space where people can come, or it can be done virtually. But I wanted that as an immediate offer to people here locally. It is also something that I visualized during a meditation in January before I even started HCI.
Oh,
I visualized this space exactly as it sits. And so that carried me forward. But for me, I think my biggest benefit was my background in legal and living in the world of deadlines that helped me with my own deadlines for my business. Because I give myself a deadline and it's going to get done. And if I get it done sooner, that's great. Then
yeah.
I have more time for other things, but I stick with my to-do list. I block out certain amount of time every day. If it's working on a podcast, whether it's reaching out to people to invite them, whether it's following up with people, scheduling, writing scripts, creating thumbnails, I block time on my calendar to get those things done. And I'm like you, I'm a morning person. I get started at 4 o'clock in the morning. So by 10, I've already been working for 6 hours. And so by 2 or 3, I'm like you, I'm like, okay, I can check Facebook and I can read emails, but I'm pretty much done for the day. So those are
I
all.
love that you're saving those things, by the way. That Facebook, the email thing, like that's another, I don't generally check email first thing in the morning, um, because it's not going to benefit me.
Mhm.
So like I save those things for when the brain kind of goes into its slower mode. It's like wind down mode, because I can check emails at 3 in the afternoon, but at 9 a.m. when it's firing on all cylinders, I want to use it for good. And just choosing where you spend your energy is really important. And I think we get lost because there is so much noise, both in just a normal life but also in an entrepreneur's life, because you are the business. And so you don't walk away from your office and never think about it again. And that's a really, I mean, like it's tapping you on the shoulder 24/7.
Mhm.
So setting those boundaries with it so that you're using your energy for the most good for your business, because that's what we really want for you, is to like launch you into whatever it is you're doing as an entrepreneur in the best way possible. So,
And yeah, though, for me, the greatest thing that I have found that worked for me is having a morning routine,
mhm.
and it propels me into my day. I mean, I have the same morning routine every day. I wake up, make my bed. That's the first thing I do. That starts my day off right. I'm very OCD. I like my house to be clean and tidy and picked up, and that's like my first start. I put on my workout clothes. I do my workout. I listen to a podcast, and usually I let the podcast pick me. It's kind of like you said with meditation. I let the meditations pick me. I don't pick them. I'm not
Mm,
hunting for some fix in my mind. I let whatever is calling to me. So same with
love that.
podcasts. So I'll look through the few people that I follow on a regular that are like Jay Shetty and things like that, who are there to help entrepreneurs grow. And I'll listen to my podcast while I work out. Then I'll do my meditation. If I want to journal, I'll squeeze that in there. But then I take my shower, then I get ready. I don't look at emails, I don't look at text messages, I don't none of that until I am in that time frame in my day.
Perfect.
So yeah, I'm right there with you. Those are all great strategies that help me, and keep me from, like you said, just kind of getting caught up with all these crazy emails and thinking you got to stop and do this right now. And it's really not what you need to be working on right now. And if we can train ourselves to not be on somebody else's fire.
I love the way you said that.
So yeah,
That's
those are all great
beautiful.
things. Thank you for those wonderful practical strategies. So tell me about Reiki and how does that play a role in helping you, helping other entrepreneurs? Tell me about that.
Reiki actually came into my world while I was still in corporate America in that kind of drowning phase. I had a really close friend who was an accounting professor, actually, um, who was leaning into this. And so I tended to be her guinea pig on several things. I was very much like, sure, I'll gladly help you, not a problem. I didn't intend for it to become anything for me. Like, it kind of fell into my lap, and I noticed shifts after attending sessions with her or being a part of that. And so I just kind of took a few courses, fell in love with it more and more because the Japanese technique of Reiki is truly meant for stress reduction and to promote healing. And I personally use it kind of to help me set intentions. It helps me use the universe to help guide me. It creates an internal peace for me that allows me to move forward. And again, it was not a place where I thought like I would necessarily be teaching it or I would be a practitioner of it. And it took, I mean, I started my Reiki practice long before I ever started coaching. And I would say probably 3 years of doing Reiki really for myself before it even went, outside of me into my own household and then, rippled out to other people. And um, I think my internal sources needed to heal themselves enough to be able to help others heal. And um, I use Reiki daily. I am asking for this life force energy to follow me to the dog park and, offer peace to anyone who needs it. I am offering it to when I sit down at my desk to start my day. When I leave my desk at the end of the day, I am blessing the desk. If nothing else, just saying thank you and I appreciate it. And Reiki, thank you for just surrounding me and helping me with this. And um, I have clients who really lean into the woo and absolutely love it. And so we do a lot of those things and we'll incorporate it. Others who struggle with it more, which I fully respect and understand because I was there as well. Um, Reiki can't hurt anything. So I always bring it in. And if the other person or the other energies decide not to have it be a part of it, then it just walks away. It's very gentle. It's very loving. It offers you a hug if you want one. If you don't want a hug and just want a handshake, it's okay with that too. And if you're just, no, thank you, then it just says, okay, have a blessed day and walks away, which is what I need as an energy source around me. It's not loud, it's not obnoxious, it doesn't yell at me, and it just kind of helps. It helps give me the friend that I need to move through all of those things. So I use it consistently and sometimes in coaching practice, but not always. And, um, because of what I'm doing in my coaching, I'm actually leaning into maybe teaching some different Reiki that's more in that line of self-care. It's kind of one of my 2024 goals or directions is to kind of teach Reiki from that place of self-care so that you can use it just personally, not to become a practitioner of it. Because again, I didn't want to become a full-time practitioner or a teacher of it. That wasn't the plan originally. I just needed, an extra energy to give me a hug. And that's what I kind of feel Reiki does. So I use it anywhere and everywhere. It comes along with me on every journey. So,
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I spend a lot of time in the state of gratitude, and so I understand that starting my day that way, ending my day that way, welcoming whatever comes to me in that way, whatever the universe wants to bless me with. I'm open to receiving within boundaries.
hmm
um, but yeah, it is such a peaceful existence,
hmm
and it brings me into the present, and I'm not focused on the past, and I'm not focused on the future. I'm just focused on what's in front of me and being having gratitude for all of my blessings. And wonderful. I love it. I think
excellent.
you teaching it as a tool for self-care is a beautiful idea.
hmm I use it, something that comes up is using it also as a boundary or a force field. And not to keep people out, but to keep the good energy that you have in. Because generally we give a lot. Like as humans, we are giving a lot. And sometimes we aren't doing that for ourselves first. And so we're depleted. Honestly, that's where a lot of overwhelm comes from, is that just, we have nothing for ourselves, but we've given so much and we just don't know where to go next. Like, we're tapped out completely. And so Reiki helps me use it kind of as a force field. I mean, because it allows me to remind myself, like, hey, this is ours. And unless you're full, you can't give. So, how do we fill up to be able to overflow and give out? So, Reiki really helps kind of like she's a person that kind of stands there and reminds me of those things because, life gets lifing. And so you forget that you need to be controlling your own energy, or controlling is not the right word, but like maintaining that level of energy.
Hmm.
So I really love the energy, and I'm excited that, that's honestly the first time I've talked about self-care, Reiki for self-care. So I'm excited to put that into play then for the future.
Yes, I think it is a wonderful idea. And, I am forever grateful to HCI in that it taught me that concept of having a full cup. I had never heard that concept before. In fact, I think I was raised in the opposite. Like, you were
hmm
expected to give and give and give and give and give. And so no one had ever in my lifetime sat me down and talked to me about the importance of self-care, about having a full cup, about doing for yourself first, about working on your own things first before you can help others. So I am forever grateful for HCI for teaching me things that were new to me, that really helped me grow and help me learn to, like you said, protect and control who I was giving my energy away to.
hmm
Um, yeah, beautiful. I love it. I hope you go forward with it. I think
Thank
there's
you.
magic there.
Love a little magic.
Love a little magic. So, can you share a success story of a client that you've worked with that you've really seen them transform into their best life?
So the thing that jumps into my brain when you mention that is, I had a client who is a beautiful single mom of two kids, preteens. when we started working together. So that junior high age, so difficult
Hmm.
ages for sure.
The ages.
Um, and full-time nurse, I mean, she was an amazing soul, but this plays beautifully into this idea of self-care. Like she really had no idea how to fill her own cup, or that she was even supposed to, or even allowed to. And um that kind of reprogramming, retraining, kind of unbraiding the past for each of us is a really, really difficult thing to do, because it may have taken one conversation to start it, but it takes decades to unravel it. And, um, she, just like myself, I'm part of the, Amazon world. And, when I order it, I expect to walk out to my front door right now and it be there. We also expect that same idea from coaching and self-care and those kinds of things, is like, okay, I need self-care. So like it needs to just show up and be here. And letting her figure out what that looked like for her and how she could truly be the best version of herself, um, was magical for me. But then, like, the big magic really happened when it started to ripple out from her. So, like, she started to find these moments of peace. And some of them were not pretty moments. I will be very honest. They were moments of, sitting in the hospital bathroom, like learning how to breathe, because that was the only time she got to herself alone all day, was going to the bathroom, or things like that, that, we don't necessarily talk about. We like say, go sit down for 10 minutes of meditation. This woman didn't have 10 minutes to sit down for meditation. She was willing to start with 30 seconds in the bathroom. And I'll take what I can get, because we can build on that. And so she started to take for herself, and watching that ripple out to her kids, watching the happiness level of her kids increase, because she was a more present human and mother to them, and even allowing them to have all of their middle school feels, at the end of the day, and have that conversation with them and teach them some of the things she was learning herself, was truly magical. I mean, like, I think our last official session, we had our session, and then she's like, would you mind if the kids came on and talked? And I was a little like, well, this is unusual. I don't normally get to talk to the family of the coaching client. And her kids like reverberated so many things back that I had taught the mom. And it was, I mean, like, I was definitely in tears at the end of it, because I was watching my own coaching through her resonate out to a whole other generation of people who I had no intentions of touching. But that was not my goal, and that's not what my business does. And she really found a harmony within her household. And again, she didn't change jobs. She didn't, she wasn't going to get rid of her kids. She doesn't do any of those things. She just lived within the boundaries of what that was, and shifted and made adjustments to make it her best life. And I mean, I think she's my favorite success story, because she just made little shifts. These were not, she didn't decide not to be a nurse. She didn't decide not to be a mom. She didn't make 180-degree shifts. She just made little degrees. And that's really what the magic of both coaching and, being a beautiful human being is. So I think that's
Absolutely.
my favorite story.
Absolutely. Oh my God, that is a beautiful story. Yeah, it's those little steps. It's meeting people where they are.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, getting to see the ripple effect, or just getting to see, I had a surprise client text me a picture on Thanksgiving, and that just made my whole day. Like, just seeing the
Hmm.
smiles on their faces and knowing where we started. That was the goal. It was like, okay, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and this is it. This is the magic, um, and that fills my cup, so that I can continue to give more. So, yeah, that was a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So, what are some of the mindset shifts that entrepreneurs can adopt to cultivate a more harmonious and fulfilling entrepreneur journey?
I will tell you my biggest one for me personally, and I do think it resonates with a lot of people, is fear. Um, you know, and not a shift into fear, because we're already living in so much fear, and fear of so many things. I mean, especially for entrepreneurs, as they are, am I enough? What I doing? Am I, imposter syndrome? All these things stem from fear. And um, I have a coach who talks about fear very differently, and it's very much helped me to analyze fear differently. And he talks about it from the standpoint of, is fear really what you're feeling, or is it potentially worry? And worry is worry about the future. If I'm not enough is the fear. Is that actually true that I am not enough? Or am I worried that someone might think that? Or am I worried that something might happen in the future? And um, the idea of clear and present danger comes up with fear. And this is what I use all the time. When I feel fear, when I either physically or mentally feel like, oh, I'm too afraid to post that post. I'm too afraid to make that call to ask for whatever I might need from the person. I ask myself, is there clear and present danger? Because fear is a true feeling, but fear is meant for us to feel when, I'm going to go back to the old adage of like when a lion is chasing us, like that is a fearful moment, like that's not a time I'm going to sit and think like, do you think that lion will catch me or not? No, I'm just going to be afraid and run. That is true, clear and present danger. Most of the people I know in my world are never going to face that. I'm pretty sure that that's never going to be a reality for me. I don't ever really want to be chased by a lion. And most of the other fears that I have nothing to do with true, clear, and present danger. I'm not being held at gunpoint. I'm not, underwater drowning. These are points where there's clear and present danger. Most of my fear is just worry. And worry is a future thought. So when I think about it, like it hasn't actually happened yet. So by me being fearful, I'm actually either creating it or not creating it. And I get to choose. I truly get to choose. And so I look at fear very differently. And that mindset shift for me as an entrepreneur, because um, I was a very fearful beginning entrepreneur. I was very worried about so many things going wrong, or even worried about things going too right for that matter. And thinking about it from the standpoint of like, okay, I'm fearful that what I say in this post might hurt someone's feelings. But is that clear and present danger? No, it's not. That's a worry for the future. But what I'm putting out there is true for me, and that's all that really matters. So yes, I'm going to go ahead and press post, or I'm going to make that phone call, or those kinds of things. And looking at fear differently for me in that standpoint of, is this worry or not, made a huge difference to me, because now fear doesn't live, because fear would just live sitting on my desk for hours or days, and it would just sit there and like stare at me, and I couldn't seem to shake it even enough to do some of the small things in entrepreneurship. And looking at it differently really made a huge difference, because now I'm willing to try. Because if I do something wrong, if I say something that offends somebody, I have the opportunity to apologize for that if it actually was something wrong. But if it's just my thought and my truth, it's okay. We're all entitled to our own thoughts and our own truth, and I shouldn't be fearful of what that is. So fear mindset shift has been the biggest probably thing, and it still comes up, it's still there. I mean, it's still something I'm working with. That's, I know it so well, and it shows up so differently every day. It's not the same, it's not dressed as the same thing every day.
Nope.
So
Um,
that's where my biggest mindset shift was, that fear.
and that was for me as well. When I enrolled in HCI, in fact, that first phone call that you get before you sign the agreement, my fear was so big because I was still in trauma response. And
Mm-hmm.
so all I kept thinking was, how am I going to learn nutrition again? Like I knew it when I was a personal trainer years ago, but now I'm in trauma response and my brain fog was so heavy and thick that I couldn't see the future. All I could see was the fear. Like, how am I going to learn this? How am I going to remember this? How am I going to this? How am I going to? And I sat and talked myself into this circle of fear, thinking, this is huge. This is a whole career change. And then I had to bring myself back to say, well, you've done this before. Like, I didn't go to college until I was in my 30s. And I did it all online so that I could be home and get my education while my children were getting their education, and we could do it together as a family. So I could show my kids that it's never too late, that I could still change careers. I had been an accountant for 20 years and then went to school and came out in the legal field. And so I had to remind myself that even though I didn't have the fear then because I was young and, everything was still working good, um, that I could,
Hmm.
I can do this. It just might be a little harder. It might be a little different. And some of the things that I struggled with the brain fog and everything was like my memory. Like, I had no memory. I had years that have just disappeared from my mind. And so I had to come to the reality that I may never remember that thing, but I can relearn it.
Absolutely.
And so every day I was showing up and doing the work and being coached and coaching. And that, I think, too, is just the best part of the HCI program, was the amount of hours that we were coached and coached someone else, and that learned experience and getting to know people and all that beautiful stuff. But for me, it was truly telling myself, I can do this. I can relearn it. Instead of letting fear control me. So thank you for making that like your number one mindset shift, because it really was that for me. And
Yeah, and
imposter
it's
syndrome, I think we all
yeah.
go through that as entrepreneurs. Like, who is going
Oh, definitely.
to be a health coach? Everybody knows me, and I still have people that will come to me with like legal questions. Like, hey, can you recommend a good attorney? Or, hey, I want to file this lawsuit. And I'm just like, no, 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 that was my past. This
Not
is
part of my current reality.
not part of my current reality. But if you want help with going forward, or working through what you've got, I'll help you there. But I'm not going to go backwards and relive all that, because I don't have the same taste in my mouth for it.
Hmm. Beautiful boundary to set, by the way.
That one. So yes, fear. I love your clear and present danger, because yeah, that is something we learn. We're not being chased by bears or tigers, but our body holds on to things from our
Hmm.
past, and it responds and reacts. So it's learning how to react, and that we are in control of that reaction.
Hmm.
You're amazing.
Beautiful.
In your experience, what are some key factors that contribute to long-term success and sustainability?
Okay. I'm gonna go really basic because I think it's super important knowing why you're even doing this. You know, it gets talked about and talked about and talked about, knowing your why in the entrepreneurial space, whether it be coaching or whatever you're doing. Um, but I think we don't talk about it from the perspective of why is your why even important? Your why can help propel you on a good day and really help move you forward. It can be a really good hug to lean into on a really hard day. And the thing I think that we don't always talk about in the why space is that it can change too. I struggled with a why because I have, my nuclear family is me and my husband. We don't have children. We have fur babies, and that's our choice. But so many people use their family or their children as a why. And as a person who didn't have my own children, there for a while, as I was creating, why am I doing this? I felt like, well, I felt that my why wasn't good enough. But my why is about me. And something we don't always talk about in that why space is that your why can be really selfish too. And my why personally is I want to continue to live my best life. I want to help others and show others, giving them permission that they can live their best life. I don't want them to live my best life because mine is mine. I want them to live their best life. And my best life might look very, very different than theirs. And knowing that it's okay that my why starts with me is valuable because it shifts and adjusts, but it does. Like I said, it can propel you forward on days that when your why is whying, it can propel you forward. You can get 1,000 ideas, everything can go right. And when there are bad days or there are days that are not so awesome feeling, it's also like remembering that goes, okay, I'm still doing this. I know that I'm still helping people. It's looking at what you have done and what you're going to be doing to kind of help sustain you through those like maybe rough stints, whatever the roughness is. It could be a financial roughness. It could be just an emotional roughness. It could just be a day where you need some sunshine, for goodness sake. So, um, but knowing your why is such a valuable tool, and also the permission to adjust it according to where you are. Because my why, as I started my business, is different than it is now because I didn't have that long term dream of what my best life could look like. And I guarantee in 5 years, my best life is probably going to change again, and my why will as well. So, having your why and really, really leaning into what it is and knowing that it's okay if it shifts, I think is what can help you long term.
Beautiful. And I agree 100% because it definitely carries me through some rough days. It
Mhm.
also gave me permission to create my niche and not worry about, and not worry, and just not worry. Like, this is what I want to do. And these are the people
Mhm.
I want to help. And everybody else who may not like my niche, they're not my people and they're not my problem. And the people that need my help will be there. And every time I get one more person that comes in on my niche, I'm just like, oh, it makes my heart all flutter. And I'm like, this is why, this is that why these are the people I want to help. And so even if I'm struggling in between clients, I just keep doing what I'm doing to connect with the people that need to hear me. And I love that.
Beautiful.
I love it. Yeah. Your why is it is a powerful, powerful thing. And I have mine written down and I have it in little notebooks and in little places, not as a reminder, but sometimes it'll show up in weird places like that post-it note you'd forgotten about. And it'd be like, oh, I know why I wrote this down. So, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs who are just starting their journey, and maybe feeling overwhelmed? I mean, I think we've covered some really great tips, but I am sure you have some more.
I'm going to jump on that word journey and remind you that this is a journey, that, life is a journey. I mean, we're really not looking to get to the finish line. I talk to people a lot of the times and they're moving through things so quickly, forgetting that the journey truly is the thing that they're on, because the finish line, at least for life, is death. Um, I'm not in any hurry to get to that finish line. I might be in a really big hurry to get to some of the pit stops because there's nice, drinks or food or something, but I am on this journey. And knowing that your entrepreneurial situation is a journey, and that, when you start on day one, you're not meant to finish. You're meant to continue to build, and it's always shifting and adjusting. I mean, I kind of think of this journey more as like a river, not like a road. Like a road we set, like, it's set in stone, like where it goes. But like rivers change over time. They erode different things. They build bigger, they get smaller, there's more water or less water that we're just kind of flowing through. And your river, your journey is not comparable to anybody else's. And we are really good as a society to compare everything. And like, you cannot compare me as a master chef with your day one of culinary school. Like, we're just not going to have the same talents and energies and natural situations. So comparing is such a devastating feature that you are on this journey. And um, knowing yourself, I think like my final thought on that journey is your comfort zone. I mean, we talk about our comfort zones all the time and like, stretching outside your comfort zone. And I will, yes, encourage every one of my clients, friends, family, anybody to stretch outside your comfort zone, but at a pace that works with you. Because some people, I mean, I always tell people that I am a turtle. Like that's how I've built my business, is just like one step at a time. I'm not the hare in this situation. I'm not racing to that situation. And so for me, my comfort zone stretch looks very different. I'm not willing to jump off of a cliff. Like that just seems really scary for me, but I am willing to try a new social media platform for a little bit. And then I'm willing to try something else. I'm willing to stretch my comfort zone at my pace, and that's what I encourage entrepreneurs to do. Don't look at everyone else's journey and be like, well, I have to get to 10,000 email followers, or email subscribers within a month, or I'm not going to be successful. There are many successful entrepreneurs that still haven't reached 10,000. And then there's some that are at millions. And each of our journeys is very different. And being really true to yourself and what that journey is, because truly the people who come to you want you as the entrepreneur. They're not looking at just what you are selling or giving or sharing. They are also drawn into you, like what you were talking about with your niche. Like the people who are meant to find you and fall in love with you. And the ones who are not meant to be on this journey with you are potentially just going to fall away. They might even say stuff along the way, but they're not part of your journey. And yes, it's hard to not hear them all the time, but they're just not part of the journey. So being true to yourself and what that growth phase looks like is really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. You always just fill my soul
I'm
because I
glad to
really
do that.
I love the river analogy. I got to work on a case where, and this was in my legal days, where a person had bought a house right on a cliff edge with the river running right below, and then wanted to, I don't know, sue everybody because her house was falling into the river as the river would erode. Um, and I think about those things, when I'm like driving and I'm coming up on the river, and I see these houses and I'm just like, man, I would never do that. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I guess I probably would, because I'm on that cliff and I'm taking that chance, and it's a journey, and I'm just going to trust the ground beneath me. And um, but yeah, to be able to flow and know that that's what we need to do on our journey.
It is. It's just a beautiful journey. We get to decide how great it is or isn't.
It is. I want to thank you so much, Tracey. I can't believe that it's already been over a year since I completed the HCI program, and I love what I do. You were amazing motivation, inspiration, and an amazing coach, and I'm so forever grateful for that. We were definitely meant to connect, and I'm glad I still get to have this connection with you.
And
Can you
I'm
tell
honored to be here and watch your progress along the way. So I'm just so thrilled.
Thank you. You were a big part of that. Can you tell people where they can find you?
Absolutely. So, my website is probably the best place, and that is Purely Payton. So PurelyPayton.com. That also links to everything I do, any workshops that I offer, all the courses or classes that I offer are there. On social media, you can basically find me, Tracey Payton, or at Purely Payton on any social media platform that is to your liking. They're all a little different for me. So I show up a little differently on each of them, which is exactly what I want. Um, but yeah, you're also welcome to just reach out. I mean, on my website, if you have questions about anything I offer, I do offer what we call Clarity Catalyst coaching. Um, it's an 8-week course that kind of helps guide you to that space of clarity. There's like I said, 8 weeks of just so many tools. It's an amazing course that I offer a couple times a year and that moves into one-on-one coaching. So that's like my biggest offer at this point in time. But like I said, there might be a Reiki for self-care coming in there. I do a lot of workshops I mainly advertise them on Facebook, but they're done via Zoom, but most of them are free. So I'd love to have anyone who is interested in just getting some tips and tricks. I mean, the more we share this, the bigger the ripple gets, and I'm all for that. So, because let's just all create our best lives, because the world only gets better from that purpose.
Absolutely. I will have to look more into the stuff that you offer, because I am always about more education, more learning, more tools in my toolbox that I can share with others. So thank you for putting that out there for everybody to look into. I want to again thank you for your time. Thank you for everything you shared with my followers, and hopefully everything that we discuss will help inspire and motivate others to see past the fear, and some of those other struggles, and to help us see the value in our why. So if you
Beautiful.
enjoyed this interview, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Finding Resilience with Leanne. Happiness on Tap podcast is available on the go on YouTube and Spotify and wherever you listen to podcasts. For more information from me, please check out my website at Finding Resilience with Leanne, and be sure to subscribe to my email tribe to embark on a path of self-discovery, empowerment, and overcoming life's challenges. So thank you again, Tracey. It was such a pleasure visiting with you and getting to have this one-on-one time. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. It's such an honor.
We'll talk soon.